Board did meet in closed session, but we have nothing to report out. We'll go ahead and call to order our open session and ask for a roll call vote, please. Roll call. Attendees.
Here.
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 Carter.
Here.
Trustee Agua.
Here.
Here.
Courtney.
Here. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. Trustee Agbalog, would you lead us in the pledge?
Stand. Pledge. And pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I report actions, closed session. There were no actions to report out. Move to public comments. At this time, the public may address the Board of Trustees on any matter on the agenda or within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board that is not on the agenda. Public may address the Board of Trustees on each of the agenda items as those items are considered. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes per topic. 20 minutes shall be the maximum time allotment for public speakers on any one subject, regardless of the number of speakers at any one board meeting. At the discretion of the majority of the board, these times may be extended. Each person who addresses the board must first be recognized by the presiding officer. Comments must be addressed to the board as a whole, not to individual members or district employees. Board and staff are not obligated to comment on or respond to or address comments by the public. Prior to the opening of this meeting, names and agenda items taken for public comments. Are there any additional members of the public who wish to make public comments? Please state your name and item you wish to address. That we have one individual who would like to address the board, Dr. Matthew Garrett.
Board, I'm sorry to be back here again. I know you must tire of seeing me. I would rather not keep coming back. But I'm here today to ask you, to beg you to stop the administrative retaliation, to hold the bad actors accountable. I know that in my case, you were somehow convinced that you were in the right. Whoever it was, your administrators fed you a whole load of lies, and then eventually you had to come around to recognizing you had no chance of winning. You were told that it's a one-time thing, it's okay, it won't happen again. In closed session, you were promised this is the last time. And yet in the last few weeks, you've been hit with not one, not two, but I know of 3 different attorneys or 3 different suits, coming suits that you've received paperwork on for retaliation. Administrative retaliation is continuing, and it's the same bad actors involved. At what point are you going to hold these people accountable? The taxpayers are the ones who keep paying for all of these legal fees, all of these settlements. It's got to stop. And I started to think, maybe you just don't know. Maybe the problem is that these bad actors who are retaliating are the same ones lying to you and telling you that they're the heroes and all these lawsuits and employees are the problem. So I thought I'd take a minute and walk you through some of the facts that maybe you just don't know. Facts that are indisputable. Facts from our courtroom battle. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my case because that's the one I have the most firsthand knowledge about. Are you aware that during that court hearing, Professor Paula Parks, the one who brought a student in and local activists in to make accusations, that during that courtroom, she testified under oath that she spent time with her students in advance of that controversial meeting, pointing their attention to me. She testified that she took them to that meeting and sat them in chairs she set up directly behind me. She testified that after that meeting, she used class time to write complaints with the students, complaints which proved to be false when compared against the audio recordings. And we learned in that courtroom that there were multiple audio recordings, one of which in the possession of one of your administrators. So you knew full well these were lies, or at least someone in your administration did. We also learned in testimony and from physical evidence that Andrea Thorson, chair of the EODAC meeting, went around from committee meeting to committee meeting, perpetuating these false allegations. We also know from sworn testimony that she directed people to come to the board to make these sorts of false allegations, to make allegations which prove to be false. And we know that after that, you promoted her to be a dean. Do you think she's going to stop? You've got to hold these people accountable. We also know that Mr. Abe Ali was supposedly completing multiple investigations. Ms. Andrea Thorson, in one of her discussions in public, said that HR had already completed its investigation back in November. At that point, they had not contacted the accused, me. They had not contacted at least some of the accusers. We got that in courtroom testimony, and had not contacted the witnesses. What kind of investigation is that? Then a few months later, in this meeting, Sonia Christian said that Abe Ali had completed investigation. At that point, still had not contacted me, the accused, still had not contacted at least one of the accusers we learned in court, and still had not contacted some of the witnesses. What kind of investigation is that? And then, according to comments made in this meeting, Sonia Christian at Trustee Corkin's request that we want more investigation, we want more information, and you continue to collect. She said there'd be more investigation, and you had, I think, a closed session meeting at January, February, where these things were discussed in more detail. Still no contacting the accused. What kind of investigation is that? You have a problem of dishonest, unethical administrators retaliating, and it's not just me. You have multiple lawsuits. Our new chancellor, who I have a lot of respect for, I think he's trying his best. He's been doing these investigations. He's doing these climate surveys, and they keep coming back saying retaliation, retaliation, retaliation. And you just keep promoting the people involved. I don't know how to fix it except to bring it to your attention and beg you, please hold the bad actors accountable so we can clean up this college district. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to item 6A, briefing of the board on the enrollment fraud update. Chancellor.
Trustee Cornis, thank you for that. So in just a moment, Mr. Todd Costin and Mr. Dave Barnett will give the board and members of the audience and those watching via Zoom an update on enrollment fraud. And I just want to commend our team for a quick moment. I think when the board sees the fraud update, you're going to be very impressed and very pleased with the results. So we have some great people engaged in doing great work. And again, I want to thank Todd, Dave, everyone on our fraud prevention team across the district. But with that, I would like to ask Mr. Todd Costin, Mr. Dave Barnett to present the 2024 fraud update to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Chancellor, and appreciate the time with the trustees. It's the first time I was here to talk about fraud. I think it was back in January. So it's been close to a year that we've been talking about it, at least in this venue. And so we just wanted to bring you an update, give you a sense of what's going on. I think we're in a much better place, and you'll see that by the end of our presentation. I have with me today David Barnett. He's the acting Chief Information Officer. He's also my co-chair on the committee that meets every single week to talk about fraud and to look at it to see what we can do to improve. So I thought it was appropriate for him to join me in this discussion. So a year ago, if you think back when I kind of brought this to your attention, there were several things that were happening. One, the campuses were absolutely overwhelmed. It was just a plea like, hey, we need help. We need you to do something because we are buried. Classes were filling overnight. And if you remember at that time, we would have we'd go through and scrub a class and drop all of the bad actors. The very next day, the class was full again. And it was just killing us. Admissions and records and financial aid were still doing very manual processes. So they were trying to, with their limited staff, put holds on students and trying to keep the bad actors out of classes. The faculty were frustrated. We heard from multiple faculty that said, this is ridiculous. As our classes, half of them are filled with students that are not legitimate students. Is there anything you can do to get these students out of our classes? The deans, of course, were struggling because they're trying to fill the class with legitimate students and they're dropping students. And yet overnight it would fill with fraudulent students again. And then that was kind of the first part of the state chancellor's office starting to implement some of their solutions to try to mitigate fraud at the state level. Because if you understand, we use CCC apply, and so our students kind of enter at the state level. So I'm going to hand it to Dave. He's going to kind of talk about what we've been working on, and then I'll give you an update on kind of where we are today.
Thank you. So first I want to start with a disclaimer. So the things that I'm about to say are very high level in nature. And I'm intentionally not digging into specifics of how we're identifying fraud, in part because we're broadcasting this to the internet. And what we don't want to happen is I tell you like, oh, we noticed that everybody with red shoelaces is fraud, and then we see nobody with red shoelaces and we're behind in the cat and mouse game. So it's not an intent to be to not give details. It's just an intent to try to stay ahead of the game. So the first thing that we did is we implemented our own AI to look at various factors in the student's journey here and make a determination on if the AI thought they were fraud or not. And then over the course of the spring semester, we continually kind of dialed in that AI and placed holds on students automatically as soon as they crossed certain thresholds in the AI. And this has been pretty innovative. We've talked to several other districts about what we're doing. All have been impressed. And we've gotten really good mileage out of that. The second thing that happened is the chancellor's office implemented ID.me, which is a verification process. So when a student applies, they have the option to opt in to ID.me. Those that opt in can upload pictures of their driver's license and other identifying things. And then ID.me will come back and say, hey, we've validated the identity of this student. For those that don't opt into ID.me, there's a separate verification process that we have going on at the campus. So every new student that's coming in is either ID.me verified or verifying with people at the campus, which has helped a lot as well. Also in the spring, we automated a lot of these processes. When we first implemented the AI process, it was very manual. AI would spit out a list of students that it thought was fraud, and then we'd have to go in there and apply the holds, send the emails, do all this stuff manually. We've now got it down to where it happens kind of overnight. And so it's requiring less work to implement now. And the campuses are still being diligent. They're still looking at students. They're still doing the work of verification of people who are not doing ID.me. And we're finding new patterns and we're constantly evolving. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's looked like. So this is over a little bit more than a year. The red area are the holds that were placed manually by our campuses. The blue area are the holds that were placed by our AI. And as you can see in January, we implemented the AI and it caught a lot of students. And over time, the manual holds that we've had to put on have gone down. Now, because of the scale of how high it was, it almost looks like it's nothing now, but I assure you there's still work happening now to put in holds. We're on the order of 500-600 holds for this fall period of time. But back in January, we're many thousands of holds. So as you can see, both AI and ID.me have helped drive down those fraud numbers, which is nice. This graph is a little bit unfair because the red and the blue is known fraud, but the yellow is the campus verifications that's happening. And my point with this slide is that I didn't want the last slide for you to think we've implemented all this stuff, the problem solved, nobody's doing any work. That yellow is the work that our campuses are doing to verify students that didn't do ID.me to make sure that these numbers stay low. So with that, I will turn it back over to Todd.
So a little more about what we're doing today so that, those graphs give you an idea of a lot of work that's been done to mitigate a lot of this, but there's still work to be done. And we are in our fraud team, we're kind of like sitting there waiting. We just think that we're not done. They're going to keep coming back at us. We feel good with where we are right this minute, but there's always that fear that something else happens. We still are having weekly fraud meetings, and it's a large group that meets. We talk about ideas. We're looking for new patterns, anything that's been heard at the state that we're hearing at that level. Pretty much everyone in that committee is tuned in and watching for changes. And I will tell you, there's already some preliminary things where we're seeing the fraudsters get more creative. What that exactly looks like, we're still trying to determine. It's not affecting us yet, but before they would just go create an account and then try to use that account to register for classes and get the financial aid. Now there's a possibility that we're seeing that they may even be trying to use active students, may have been active years ago, but somehow they've resurrected those accounts or are hacking those accounts in a, not hacking them, but getting students to give over their information through phishing or whatever, and then creating a situation where it's legitimate students and possibly we could be seeing fraud because of that. But we're still digging into that. The campuses, like Dave said, are very diligent. They are still manually watching students coming in. We provide lists for them because as we tweak the AI, we'll give them a new list. They look at those lists, then they'll go in and do some legwork to say, yes, validate this is a legitimate fraud student, or no, these look like these are, these are legitimate students and the AI got it wrong, so to speak. We're always looking for ways to improve the artificial intelligence tools. And it's something where, currently it's looking at it looks at different things related to enrollment. We're not just sticking to that. We're always looking like, what are metrics that we can be looking at that would improve our ability to detect a fraudulent student? The ideal, and I talked to you about this before, the ideal would be to catch them as soon as they come in from CCD apply. The problem with that is, and I think I mentioned this before, is that at that point, we have very little information on the student. You have their name, you have their address, email address, maybe a phone number, and you're trying to take just that information and determine if they're fraudulent. That's very difficult to do. So we're still looking like, is there ways to do that? We're constantly looking at ways to tweak the AI. The other thing is we're on a couple of different distribution lists across the state where they're talking about fraud, discussion groups and things like that. And we stay tuned into that. Different groups within our fraud team are also on state groups, like the A&R directors, they're on a group. Financial aid directors, they're on a group. And all of us are doing the same thing. We're paying attention to what's happening at the state to see if it indicates to us anything that could be happening to us. So I will tell you, we kind of took the brunt of it early on. We were the one that felt like we were solely targeted. We know we weren't, but we felt like we were. In the discussion groups, everyone else is now feeling the pain that we felt. So right now, they're not bugging us. They can come back to us. But when you look at other colleges, there's a lot of chatter, a lot of discussion of things that they're seeing. And now they're kind of getting hard at some of the other colleges. And then we're always looking for, obviously, ways to improve. We're doing some cool stuff with AI. Maybe in a future report, we'll have more updates on that. Like Dave said, we want to be discreet and not show our cards of some of the things we're doing, but we are doing some innovative things trying to improve the AI. The other thing I just want to point out, and just kind of this last slide before we open up if there's any questions, is that this is a team that does this. This is not just Todd. This is not just Dave. There is no way we could have had the success we were having without some of these groups. Absolutely, admissions and records and financial aid staff, they're the heroes in this. They're the ones manually verifying. They're the ones looking at these students and telling us these are fraudulent students, these are not fraudulent students. And so we absolutely could not do this without those teams. The technology team, like Dave mentioned, when we started off this, it was a very manual process. Now it's automated. That would never have happened without IT being in those meetings, actively engaged and helping us move that work along. Institutional research is in those meetings. They help us because they will provide different reports and things that our campuses can then look at to help, again, looking for trends and for things that have to do with what behavior of the fraudulent students. The other thing too is our executive support. At almost every single meeting, we have at least one, sometimes multiple of our VPs in those meetings. That is critical because some of the decisions we're making, for example, when we're talking about AI scores and how far we lower the threshold thing, the financial aid directors, they don't feel comfortable making that call. The A&R directors, they don't feel comfortable making that call because it's going to impact lots of students. So having those VPs in the meeting and being able to talk to them and say, okay, are we all on the same page? Are you comfortable with this? And having them on the spot in the meeting say, yep, let's move forward. That is our next step. It has been critical to make this a success. And then I appreciate our academic Senate representation. The 3 academic Senate presidents, one from each campus, they've attended most of those meetings as well. A lot of it is just so they hear what's going on. But what that then translates to is them becoming an advocate for us when they go back to their colleges. So if faculty are upset because maybe they feel like something isn't being done or whatever, they have sat in those meetings, they see the work's being done, and they become a voice for us with faculty to explain to them, yes, this is what is happening. So a lot of work been done. I think we're in a good place. We are not sitting on our laurels. We're actively paying attention to what's going on and watching for anything that changes so that we can be responsive to that as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Questions or comments from trustees?
So, and that really goes to this last slide, right? Like, the only reason that happened is because we have this team that are engaged. They show up at almost every meeting and everybody speaks their voice. Hey, we're seeing this, we're seeing this. Something we see at BC, maybe Saracosa isn't seeing that, maybe Porterville isn't seeing that, or maybe the vice versa. And without those teams, when we were going through the process of kind of developing the AI and the response to this, we didn't want to just implement AI and see what happens. What we did is we kind of did a test, created a report from what the AI thought was a fraudulent student, and then had the campuses, like I said, do the groundwork and verify that. So they would look at this list that the AI came up with, and they would say, yep, that's legitimately a fraudulent student. That's a fraudulent student. That's a fraudulent student. Oop, we caught a false positive. We need to be aware of that. There's a fraudulent student. It could not have happened without the help of that whole team. So I don't have exact dollar amounts of what that would look like. It's more complex than that, and how that gets reported from financial aid perspective. It's probably something that Melissa, when she gets up to speed, can help us answer that question. I would say that obviously you can tell by the graphs. If anything, it's significantly less if there was a responsibility on our part. At this point, we're still seeing fraud. We had financial aid fraud, especially. We had financial aid fraud long before it kind of blossomed into this monstrosity. So you're always going to have that, but to the extent that we had it, before, it's much now. I don't have a specific dollar amount of what that might look like. All I can tell you is significantly less than where we were a year. So when I was talking about us being at the forefront, that was our colleges. What we're seeing across the state now, outside of our college district, that's what's ramped up. Like when we see the chatter, we're seeing the conversations and people are complaining. A lot of the same stuff that we were worried about. They're seeing some of those same patterns at the state level, and then they're trying to address it, either working with the state or trying to do their own solutions. So it's a delicate response. I believe we were all getting hit, but we recognized it, and it looks good for your enrollment when those numbers are high. I can't say, oh yes, other colleges were ignoring that, but I'm not sure if they were aware of how much was actually happening right under their nose. We figured it out fairly quick. Our people, again, these teams we're talking about, they brought it to our attention and said, hey, this is a problem. These are fraudulent students, and brought it to our attention. I don't know if the other colleges just missed that, if they were turning a blind eye. I don't have an answer for that. I think they were getting hit as well, but we just responded to it quicker. And now what we're seeing is them starting to try to respond to it as well, because it's effective. So when it comes to financial aid, my understanding is there's investigations at the federal level looking at that all the time. I know, there have been a couple of cases that have made the news. It's scary because in some cases it was internal people that were involved in trying to do financial aid fraud. There's no way we could pursue that. We just don't have the resource or the understanding, to go after people that are doing that. I mean, those people are here today, gone tomorrow. They're using fake addresses. They're using fake email addresses that could be like a Gmail address that's here today, gone tomorrow. It's very difficult. They have the investigators, they would have bigger tools. They're looking for things like, it has that social security number not only been used for us with fraud, but maybe it's been used in other ways too. Like they tried to get a credit card with that same social security number. So they're looking at a wider net than we are. And they had, those investigators would have the ability to do that. We don't have the ability. We probably could, but my guess is if all of the colleges turned it over, they would probably just absolutely bury them. And, I think, I don't know enough about how they handle some of that, We do reports to the state of what we think, the fraud levels are. All of that goes to, it's compiled by the state. I'm sure that's handed on. I don't know much more.
For the most part, the information that we're getting is fake. Right? It's fake people early on. Now they're starting to use real identities. But early on in those big graphs, it was just made up names and addresses, and sometimes it would be of a Burger King or something like that. So there's very little to attach back to an actual person in a lot of these cases.
Trustee Carter, one of the other issues is that the threat actors that are performing this, a lot of them are internationally based as well. And so that's part of the challenge is that as we start to look at the term we would use is called a threat actor. Many of those are organizationally based and not just individually based, and they're international organizations perpetrating this kind of crime. And so the challenge is that even if we could reach out, it's an international incident as well. And so I wanted to mention that to you because it's a very complex situation, and many times it's a very complex international threat actor organization perpetrating these crimes in the United States.
Trustee Corkins.
Yeah.
And first of all, marvelous work, and a year is a long time. A year is a very short time to get a handle on something this complicated. I was glad to hear that you are tracking this. And did I hear you say that you are reporting this information back to the state chancellor's office?
Yeah, the state had asked for that a while back. My understanding is many colleges aren't reporting that information back. But even like just this morning, I get a report every month from our institutional research that gives us what they have reported. Now they're looking at very specific metrics in Banner, and then based on that, this is what, how they're reporting that up to the state. So I know we've been doing those reports back. I know there are some other colleges that are doing those reports back, but if you talk to people at the state, I think they're frustrated because not everybody's doing that. And I think there was some question in there at one point as to what specifically is being reported back. And are we comparing apples and oranges at some point? But we have been very diligent. KCCD, I can tell you, has been diligent in making sure we report the numbers that we do know back to the state.
I was at a meeting in September, and the request was made to the Board of Trustees Association to continue to report because, of course, they're finding that one phony name and number may be used at multiple colleges. And so they're looking for patterns.
Right.
So that they can see across the 116 colleges, what the patterns are. And then they can do exactly what you all have been doing, is to then attack the patterns and see what they could do. But great job.
So question Trustee Carter asked was what I was going to ask. So a year ago, roughly, or a little more, that you brought this to us, we had hundreds of thousands of dollars of exposure potential to the district of liability. So it would be interesting if it's not a giant amount of work to just see what that exposure's gone down to. And I don't know that we ever had to pay that back out because you were exposed at the federal level and you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, as far as I know, we haven't had to pay that back, but
Okay.
yeah.
My goal is to meet with probably the committee to sit in, and then I would like to compile the reports that they've been submitting and the numbers that are provided. And then I'll meet with Todd so we can regroup, and I would like to see if we can benchmark a total or an amount and see what the peak was and what we're looking at comparative to a year ago.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Great work. Thank you, gentlemen. Great work. We'll move to item 6B, approval of consent items, business services other than construction, agenda items 8A through 8H. Business services construction, agenda items 10A through 10MM. Educational services, agenda items 12A through 12D. And human resources, agenda items 15A to 15B. Is there a motion?
Second.
A motion and second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C is approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 10, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. A second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item D is approval of the minutes of the special board meeting of October 17, 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item E is correspondence to the Board of Trustees or Communications. Chancellor.
Trustee Corkins, thank you. Correspondence has been received to the board by Dawn Ellis related to the topic of higher education consulting services. Tammy Chapman and Linda Wong related to restoring trust within the district. Trustee Corkins, that concludes the correspondence to the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Chancellor. Item F, the second reading and adoption of proposed revisions to the Kern Community College District Board Policy sections of Chapter 3, General Institution, and Chapter 4, Academic Affairs. This is an action item, and the chair would entertain a motion to adopt. Have a motion,
Second.
have a second. Jennifer, is this roll call? No. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item G, first reading of the 2024 Bakersfield College Institutional Self-Evaluation, ICER, as required by the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges in support of reaffirmation of the college's accreditation. This is informational only. Any comments? Item H, first reading of 2024 Saracosa Community College Institutional Self-Evaluation, ICER, as required by Accrediting Commission for community college and junior colleges in support of reaffirmation of the college's accreditation. This is informational only. Any comments? Item I, first reading of the 2024 Portable College Institutional Self-Evaluation Report as required by the Accrediting Commission for community and junior colleges in support of reaffirmation of the college's accreditation. This is informational only. Are there any comments? Okay, we move to 7A. Business services approval other than construction. Item A. Authorization for the chief financial officer to declare the Saracosa Community College listed items as surplus property. These items are no longer required for school purposes and are surplus property per Education Code 81450. District will dispose of said property through public auction, private sale, or donation for Educational Code Section 81452. The items are valued under $5,000 each. Is there a motion?
So.
Motion, second. On any discussion on the motion? On favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B is authorization of the chief financial officer to execute a grant agreement between the Kern Community College District on behalf of Portable College and the United States Department of Education, Title V, Hispanic Serving Institution Grant US. The initial term is from October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2025, and is anticipated to be paid for a total of 5 years. The initial amount of payable to the district is $599,920, with a total award of $2,998,472 over 5 years to be deposited in a new restricted grant fund. Their motion.
Motion to approve.
A motion. Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C is authorization for the chief financial officer to enter into phase 1 of a development agreement with Johnson Controls to explore various public-private partnership structures, the implementation and construction of a comprehensive energy campus infrastructure program. Term of the agreement is November 15, 2024 through November 14, 2025. There is no cost to the district for phase 1. Councilor Bloomberg, do you have any comments?
Trustee Corkins, thank you. I have a representative from Johnson Controls, Mr. Tony Sclafani, and as Tony comes up to the podium to deliver a presentation to the board, I'll just deliver a couple moments of commentary. And so this partnership is about one of my intents as a chancellor is to ascertain how we might be able to derive ancillary sources of revenue. So as the board knows, majority of our revenue comes from state apportionment. We also receive dollars from grants from state and federal funding as well. Those are good, but we should always be looking at sustainable ancillary revenue opportunities. And so Mr. Sclafani is here today based upon our conversations. I want to welcome him and thank you, Tony, again for being here to give the board and our listeners today a preview of what these revenue opportunities might look like.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chancellor. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and community and folks watching on Zoom today. Really appreciate the chance to be in front of you sharing what we think are some exciting opportunities that are really unique to the Central Valley of California. And so the title of this presentation is really about powering Kern Community College District with clean energy coming out of Kern County. And so we know that in California, we're going through the clean energy transition, and there's a lot of opportunities in that regard. So the question is, how can we align all of that change and all of those opportunities with the other objectives and ambitions of Kern CCD and really all of our customers? So what we intend to explore with you at the same table with you is opportunities, as the chancellor had said, to generate additional revenue, to reduce campus operating costs, to create funding for campus improvements. We know that this year there's no scheduled maintenance funding from the state, even to large capital projects like student housing and other objectives that the campuses need to address. And not only to do those type of typical construction projects, but how can we do it in a way that positions Kern County students for careers in the hydrogen workforce? And how can you do that in a way that supports the local economy unique to right here in Bakersfield and Kern County? And to tell everyone in this room something you're already pretty familiar with is that Kern County is the leader in energy in California, both in oil and gas, as well as renewable energy, with the largest solar fields in the country being located right here. And with CREL here at Kern CCD, you're also improving your leadership position in clean energy research. So how does that intersect with the clean energy transition? Well, just this year, the federal government finalized funding for what's called the ARCHES Hydrogen Hub, which is one of around 10 in the nation. And it's a statewide public-private partnership initiative, to promote the use of hydrogen, primarily for transportation electrification around the state. And so as part of that, there's a big push and interest in using hydrogen fuel cells to generate electricity. And it turns out, I mean, to put things very simply here, over on the left, you have this molecule of methane that comes from natural gas, comes out of the ground here in Kern County. It goes through this device called the fuel cell. And out on the other side, you get clean electricity, water, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and you can capture that carbon dioxide. So really what you can do with this type of technology, one of many, is continue using the resources you already have in Kern County, that strengthen that sort of local economic engine for employment, get all those technical benefits, but then also use it as a platform for students to be exposed to those type of systems, those type of careers, and build partnerships, not just with our company, but make introductions to, for example, there's one fuel cell company that manufactures their product up near the Bay Area. That's drivable. People can leave Kern CCD, get jobs, not just in manufacturing, but in project management, business management, et cetera, within that type of an organization, and still be home with family here in the Central Valley. So how do we position the district to take advantage of those kind of benefits? Well, it's by finding the right partners, one of those being Johnson Controls. So who are we? What do we do? What do we bring to this conversation? I would argue that we're in the higher education sector, the largest energy and infrastructure partner around the country. This is a photo from almost exactly 1 year ago. We cut the ribbon on 1,200 beds of new student housing, where we were the design builder and developer. So we brought the financing for this project, well north of $100 million. Outside of student housing, this is a higher ed project on the left in Colorado. We developed over 10 megawatts front of the meter solar PV. And then right here in the Central Valley, we were part of their $1 billion P3 program to develop the north part of UC Merced. And we're there 24/7 as facility operators and providing maintenance for them. So we are this national company with a huge presence, but we're also local to the Central Valley and operate statewide. We have an office here in Bakersfield. We have an office in Fresno. And then that address in Merced is at the UC where we have 24/7 operations staff. So, okay, we've talked about finding the right partner. Now, what are the type of initiatives that we hope to begin exploring with Kern CCD? So the first is around what I would call offsite power generation. Come to find out that many public agencies have come into possession either through purchase, through donation, or some other means of pretty large parcels of surplus land. So the question is, instead of that land sitting dormant or fallow, depending on campus expansion plans, is there an opportunity? It's a question. We hope to find the answer to it. Is there an opportunity to develop, install, own, operate these type of front of meter generating assets to generate the power that California needs to electrify, and to do it in a way that aligns with what's important to this particular community. So not just covering the ground with solar panels like in other places, but could we do it in a way where we're using agrivoltaics? Could we use that to partner with the UCs? Could we do that with fuel cells and partner with natural gas, partner with some of the gas utilities and part of the pipeline that's getting built down to Los Angeles? That's all in front of the meter. Behind the meter, in the campus facilities, can we do energy upgrades in those buildings that reduce operating cost, possibly include something like fuel cells at the campuses behind the meter, where now you're again exposing students on campus to that technology, possibly even in the project development, not just seeing a piece of equipment once it's installed, but learning how do you actually go through the process of developing and engineering and so on, get some level of exposure to that. And from talking to some of the team members here in the district, we found great alignment through some of the existing programs, industrial technology, automotive technology, particularly where there's a lot of discussion now. It's one thing to produce the hydrogen. How will it be stored and made accessible for vehicles? And how can we prepare students to begin to work in that environment and gain exposure so that as that rolls out, Kern CCD is already developing, already has the workforce ready to go with some familiarity. Similarly, as these technologies change, hydrogen being part of that, battery storage, et cetera, there is a need. I see a lot of change happening around occupational safety. So how do we align with like EMT programs and other types of safety measures so that folks like firefighters and EMTs who have to deal with a car accident with hydrogen fuel cells or high voltage electrical systems, how can we keep those first responders safe as well? Those are all things that Kern CCD students can be learning here. Again, no one can do all of this alone, not us, not Kern CCD. It takes a team. And part of the thought is to bring in the right people that we know at Arches, at the gas utility, at other organizations, to really partner to build the platform and then ideally use it not only to generate funding through kind of the things I've talked about, but also to attract funding. Once you have all of that infrastructure in place potentially, or pieces of it, there's other federal dollars for energy, federal dollars for housing, state dollars for both of those items that I think become attractive when you have the story of it's not just a technology going in the ground for someone to make money, but for college students in a local community to benefit from. So we think this can be real exciting. And from having talked to some of these potential stakeholders, we're seeing a lot of interest in our partner ecosystem. And so I just appreciate the opportunity to share that idea with all of you, would welcome your questions and hope to work with you in the future.
Questions or comments? Yeah.
Back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was a home builder and looking at solar heavily. And it was kind of a new thing back then. You realized pretty quickly that solar wasn't the way hydrogen was. And so I'm really happy to finally hear something. Urge our chancellor. Hydrogen.
Oh, and we've looked at it from a business standard. The issue with the fuel cells is temperature. Is keeping the temperature down. especially for cars, that as Toyota and these guys are all working on. What are we looking at for a public-private partnership chance for down the road? Where does this go? And there's no cost for phase one. I see that. What are we
So,
considering?
Trustee Corcoran, so what phase one would do is to better identify the types of opportunities that we might pursue. So for example, some of those could be campus energy improvements. Some of those could be hydrogen fuel cell technology where we're in the front of the grid, meaning that we would generate revenue from that, or we may be doing some behind the grid improvements. Also, looking at how can we become a better poised partner for hydrogen. I've said this to many groups before, but in the next several years, United States Department of Energy projects almost 700,000 new jobs directly attributable to hydrogen fuel cell technology. And conversations, Tony, I've had, those jobs are going somewhere. Arches and all these projects are starting to become a reality. From an economic and workforce development perspective, how do we potentially put this district in a position where we're providing training for those jobs? Because again, to remind everyone in the room and on Zoom, those 700,000 new jobs are going somewhere in the country. They're going to go to the places that are poised and ready to support those jobs. So over the next year, we'll be investigating all of these opportunities. The contract that's in the board packet is really a due diligence phase. We would be then coming back, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, we'd be coming back with some very specific recommendations on how to move this agenda forward.
Yes.
Do you think that the state budget and the new leadership at the federal level will affect any of the funding for arches or for hydrogen and for clean energy in the next years?
I certainly don't think that the outlook that we might have had 6 months ago would be static, looking 1, 3, 5 years ahead. That said, I couldn't make a speculation, but at the same time, I feel relatively comfortable about it. Why? Because it's about diversification. The oil and gas community in the United States, I feel, has more support now with the new federal administration. And I think, there may be changes, but I think there will be support. And ultimately, it's business driven. California, regardless, we expect, is committed to electrification and needs power from all sources. And one thing that's great about this type of technology is that it can generate 24 hours a day, unlike solar, which is variable in the middle of the day. So we find there's great business interest from the buyers of electricity. They want this 24-hour carbon-free electricity. So I think that federal policy will change, but the viability of the big picture here shouldn't be drastically impacted.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Yeah, I just want to learn more about hydrogen. I'm new to this, so I'm curious to know more. Like some of the conversations that I have had, it says that hydrogen requires too much clean water, and in the Central Valley, there's not enough clean water to produce hydrogen. The second part is that, I might be wrong, but that hydrogen requires gas, and California is trying to move away from gas in the next year. So if that's the case, how do we plan to produce hydrogen in the next years and making it affordable for the everyday consumer?
Certainly. So I will give you a brief answer now, and at some other point, if you would like to talk in great detail, I would be happy to do that. I think the first thing to point out is that there are multiple types of hydrogen fuel cell technologies. Some, as Trustee Corkins mentioned, have some temperature considerations, and different technologies are better suited for different applications. I can tell you that one of the fuel cell companies that we are in conversation with has a very famous installation down in Long Beach where the Toyota vehicles come in from Japan. And this is part of a partnership with Toyota and furthers the kind of workforce discussion. And the technology that they use is actually a net producer of water, and they generate famously the water that it takes to wash all of the cars that come off the boat from Japan. So they're using it to produce hydrogen and wash the cars. So there's some, we would look at the water impacts of different technologies, and that goes into the viability assessment. That's number one. Number two is that California is moving away from the combustion, the burning of natural gas. It's moving away from the burning. And in hydrogen fuel cells, it's not burned. It's a chemical reaction. And there's the ability to capture the carbon dioxide that's released to make it effectively zero. So even if these requirements to stop combustion go into effect, we believe, and I think Arches is $12 billion of evidence that the state will support sort of zero carbon, low carbon fuel cells.
Thank you.
And yeah, the net product of hydrogen is water. So it doesn't take lots of water to take care of the hydrogen.
Well, the
And every
second-
oil field produces hydrogen. And we are overrun with hydrogen and this natural gas in this country. So it's a big problem.
The second thing, there's two fuels with the hydrogen. The other one. Makes fuel.
Very good. We appreciate your presentation.
Thanks, sir.
Item 7C I've already announced. I'm looking for a motion in a second.
I just had one more.
For you, go ahead.
Sorry. Is there another institution, educational institution or community college district that you have a similar partnership with? I'm intrigued by the multifaceted educational component and the efficiency on campus that you're looking for. What, is this a first for you to partner with an organization like ours?
No. We have higher ed experience around the country. I mean, I would give you, would you like an
Oh,
example?
I'm just curious. But this is something you've gone in and done elsewhere.
Yes, the technology changes based on the needs of the local community and the characteristics of the institution. So just as quick example, we have done what I would consider a similar project with UC San Diego. And in their particular case, research-driven mission, we co-presented with them to win $39 million of federal funding from the National Science Foundation, used it to build this microgrid facility, as well as provide facilities improvements in 10 of their buildings. So things their facilities budget could not accommodate, we were able to load into this grant project as part of a bigger picture, and it does all of the things, but then kind of like a supercomputer, they lease time out on that to other universities is like revenue generation. So it's different at every college and so on for the community, but this is why we want to get to know, the important stakeholders in Kern County and really develop something that is right for all of you.
Thank you.
Again, give me a motion in a second. Somebody,
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7C passes. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Item 7D, authorization the chief financial officer to enter into a donation agreement between the National Cement Company and KCCD on behalf of California Renewable Energy, CREL, to engage in pre-award community benefits plan preparation and planning activities. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item E is authorization for the chief financial officer to execute an agreement between Kern Community College District and Pepsi Beverages Company, AKA Bottling Group LLC, carbonated and non-carbonated beverages, paper goods, and vending. Term is from January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2029. Cost to the district is not to exceed $434,395.76 for services to Bakersfield College, Saracosa Community College, and Portable College to be paid from GU 001 unrestricted PF 100 Bakersfield College Food Services and PF 300 Portable College Food Service funds. Their motions.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item F is authorization for the chief financial officer to enter into an agreement between KCCD and Better Bakersfield and Boundless Kern B3K for work on catalyst and pre-development phase of California Jobs First as regional governor. Term is November 14, 2024 through September 30, 2026. The amount payable to Better Bakersfield and Boundless Kern is $181,332 to be paid by RP 328-102 KJC Catalyst Funds. Is there a motion? Someone? What? I don't have a motion for this? Fail for lack of a motion. So move. Fails. Move on to item 9A. Business services approval. Authorization for the chief financial officer to enter into a construction agreement. Excuse me, between Kern Community College District on behalf of Bakersfield College, Petra CPS, the Bakersfield College Science and Engineering Phase 2, Oxy Flooring Phase 3 project. Term is from November 14, 24 through January 2025. Excuse me. Cost to the district is not to exceed $641,000 to be paid from MJ 100 local capital outlay funds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Move to item 11A, educational services approval. Approval of the attached curriculum reports of courses, programs, certificates, and new community services education course offerings as part of the district's curriculum for Bakersfield College, Syracuse. Excuse me, Community College and Portable College. Is there a motion? Motion,
Second.
a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item B, approval of out-of-state travel for 5 Bakersfield College students, members of the Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement MESA program to attend Transportation Research Board meeting in Washington, DC from January 4, 2025 through January 10, 2025. Megan Kula Boozer, a MESA program manager, will accompany the students. Cost to the district is not to exceed $15,000. Be paid from the RP 380 MESA, RP 651 USDA travel allocation, and RP 646 Eisenhower grant funds. Is there a motion? Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item C is approval for BC Student Organization Ethics Bowl Team for out-of-state travel to Snow College, Ephraim, Utah, from November 22nd through the 24th, 2024. To the Association for Practical and Professional Ethics, AAPE Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl Regional Competition. Total cost to the district is not to exceed $1,200 to be paid from TA 100 BC ASB funds. Is there a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item D is approval of out-of-state travel to Portable College participants in the Eisenhower Fellowship Program to attend Transportation Research Board annual meeting in Washington, DC. The event takes place January 5th, 2025 through January 9th, 2025. To be paid from RP 257 Title V HSI grant fund. Is there a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item E is approval for the chief financial officer to execute and submit California State Preschool Program continued funding application for funding year 2025-26 for the General Child Care and Development CCTR Infant Toddler Program. Is there
So
a motion?
moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item F is authorization for the chief financial officer to execute an agreement for general child care and development programs between the Kern Community College District on behalf of Bakersfield College and Syracuse Community College and California Department of Education. Term is from July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024. The amount payable to the district is $1,165,038 to be deposited in the CD 002 General Child Care Fund. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item G, authorization for the chief financial officer to execute a grant agreement between the Kern Community College District on behalf of Bakersfield College and the California Community Board of Governors for the execution of completing the planning process necessary to register at least one, but potentially several apprenticeship programs or pre-apprenticeship programs with the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. Term is from August 1, 2024 through December 31, 2025. The amount payable of the district is $120,000 to be deposited into a new restricted program fund. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, several seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item H, authorization for the chief financial officer to enter to an amendment sub-award agreement between Kern Community College District, California State University, Bakersfield. Term of the agreement has not changed. The amount payable to the district for year 2 It's $150,000 to be deposited into RP 174 restricted program funds. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 12 was consent. Item 13 will be workforce and economic development approval. A, authorization for the chief financial officer to enter into an agreement between the Kern Community College District and City of Bakersfield Entrepreneurship and Small Business Technical Assistance Services Grant. Term is from March 22, 23 through October 31, 2026. Subrecipient agreement increases the amount payable to the district from $350,439 to $1,350,439 to be deposited into a new restricted program fund. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Takes us to item 14, human resources approval. Adoption, item A, adoption of a side letter to the memorandum of understanding between the Kern Community College District and the California School Employees Association, chapters 246, 336, and 617 regarding premium healthcare cashback. Pending ratification. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 16, we're on to committee, ad hoc committee reports, board accreditation committee, trustee Gomez.
Yes, the board subcommittee met on October the 15th. We did an overview of the timeline, and as you saw from the agenda for today, we had the reports from each of the colleges submitted for the first read. The highlights from that particular meeting, each of the colleges reported where they were in the process getting ready for today's meeting and for them to submit the report. So they've all been diligent in preparing their self-evaluation studies, and we look forward to the full board reviewing the reports and moving on to the December meeting, second read.
Very good. Any comments or questions? Item B, board finance and audit committee report. Trustee me.
Yes, we met this morning and went over several items. We had a review of the request for qualifications report provided by CWDL audit firm. We are pleased to share WDL is the firm that will be conducting the annual audit for years 25 through 27. And we had a funding update on the Measure G bond. And this is a recommendation from the Finance Committee that we will be taking up in December. To further support the valuable improvements provided by the bond, the remaining funds in the amount of $4 million will be distributed equally between the three colleges, and the district office. And that will be for projects.
Any comments or questions? Okay, we'll move to reports. Facilities report links are in your agenda. If you have any questions there, bring them up now.
Just had one question. If we could
Daniel,
get,
do you want to come forward? I got a question. You were probably getting up to leave, weren't you?
so
Right.
close, so close. Daniel, I read the report on the gym and the field house, but could you just kind of give that a little more meat on the bones? Where are we and where are we going to be next month and the month after?
Going through, good afternoon, my name is Daniel Reed, out of facilities. We are in a process probably around December 15th to start moving in with completion. There's a few odds and end items that we're taking care of now. We're actually going through cleaning. We have some equipment that we missed along the way, so we're going to order some equipment to finalize the building, but it will be functional by.
Have a grand opening at some point. Wonderful. Thank you.
I have a
Good.
question.
What?
Taking advantage that you're up there. Can you now give us an update about the BC Urban campus? I know that there was an email sent, but I just wanted to see if there was any new update and if we're ready to open spring 2025?
Actually, I got an email today on PG&E has mandreled the system, so we are waiting now for Energize. It looks like we're set for December 15th. So we're in the process of finalizing that and starting the punch list on it. There might be some odds and ends, but we are planning to start this.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question.
Glad you came up.
We talked on the bus ride back from Ridgecrest about the brick out here.
Yes,
I noticed you got Matt Weir gonna, is he pulling it off
he's
and
pulling it off.
plastering it back?
Yeah, I'm actually working with Nan right there to get some colors taken care of, but the veneer has started to delaminate from the building. And it was causing a safety hazard. So we're gonna start pulling that off on the south side. So we'll probably do that during the off time when everybody's gone. We don't want to be jackhammering on the outside for the board meeting.
Oh, you're not gonna do the whole building?
No, not right now. The front seems to be okay, but we're saving the brick just in case it decides to laminate. We don't want to get rid of all the brick. I think it's something we want to kind of keep on. The ones that we can save, because you can't match that brick anymore. We're gonna save what we can, so we need.
Building it, well, great.
Anything else? Let the poor guy go. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Faculty reports.
Good afternoon, Chancellor Bloomberg, President Corkins, trustees, others. I'm Dr. Rebecca Baird. I'm the president of the Academic Senate for Porterville College. And as always, I am pleased to provide some updates from our faculty. Professor Elisa Queenan and others participated in the 16th International Scientific Convention UNICA 2024 in Cuba. The group presented on human-centered design to address challenges in agriculture. Our two full-time administration of justice instructors are doing, as usual, lots of fun things with their students and with the criminology club. They visited the courthouse. They had a visit from the SWAT team. That was a fun visit from the SWAT team. And participated in the community trunk or treat event. On October 14th, PC also had its first ever scheduling summit extravaganza. That's extravaganza with an exclamation point after it. Bringing together over 40 PC faculty, our classified staff, administrators for a 3-hour review of enrollment data, our spring 2025 schedule, draft schedules, our program maps, counselor feedback, and just having a cross-college conversation to identify and discuss ways to address scheduling conflicts and propose solutions to scheduling limitations from areas like communication, staffing, classroom availability, and choices for modalities. The summit also highlighted multiple areas of need at Porterville College, especially the ways that a lack of staffing of full-time faculty positions has resulted in students taking classes at other colleges outside of the district. This is especially true of physical science courses, since we currently have no full-time physical science instructor, and that class is a requirement for some of our most popular degrees. That position was also ranked as our #1 position by the Academic Senate and flagged as our area of most immediate need. Adjunct faculty are very difficult to find in our area, and that's especially true for our face-to-face and dual enrollment classes. All of this has also impacted our student success rates as students delay graduation, trying to get into impacted classes just due to a lack of full-time staffing. Full-time faculty staffing has been an ongoing concern at Porterville College. It's resulted in constrained scheduling, low faculty morale, canceling of student clubs, and faculty just being generally overstretched. And it's an ongoing discussion at Academic Senate. Also last week, I attended the ASCCC Fall Plenary in Visalia. I attended some really great sessions. My favorite was one that was conducted by Erica, the Senate President from Bakersfield College. And this was also the first plenary that I was able to attend in person. So I was really excited to go. I learned a lot, and I'm excited to attend the one in the spring down in Irvine. Thank you.
Thank you. Classified reports. Management Association report.
President Corkins, trustees, Chancellor Bloomberg, staff and communities. I'm Chad Hauk, the president of the Kern CCD Management Association. During this last month, we were honored to be included in the Supervisory Leadership Institute's Zoom session that focused on interest-based bargaining and learning more about our faculty union, our classified union, and the Management Association. It was an opportunity for us to partner with Vice Chancellor Ali and address our members directly about the work the association does, about the role we play in the district with our meet and confer status, and about the work being done on management compensation, employment agreements, and the discontinuation of the medical premium cashback. We look forward to being a part of the spring SLI as well. It was a great experience. Additionally, we hosted another lunch and learn session for our members this past October 29th, not quite Halloween. It was at noon and the webinar was entitled No Tricks, All Treats, Leadership Lessons That'll Raise Your Spirits. It was presented by KCCD Leadership Academy graduates. Andy, I always mess up Andy's last name, Grijalva, Tiffany Sagbahan, Brandon Hall, and Chris Fleischer. The focus came from their academy projects, which focused on workplace culture, engagement levels, and minimizing employee turnover. And now for our signature practice, the manager of the month. For the month of November 24th, the Management Association is pleased to recognize Johnny Nito as the Kern CCD Management Association Manager of the Month. Mr. Nito serves as the program manager for the Native American Student Support and Success Program at Bakersfield College. The Native American Student Support and Success Program, established and funded by recent California legislation, AB 79520, aims to enhance educational pathways and support services for Native American students attending community college. Mr. Nito has demonstrated a trailblazing commitment to equity-driven student success, positioning Bakersfield College at the forefront of Native American student programming in the Central Valley. He has spearheaded a number of new initiatives and services to empower self-identified Native American students with their intellectual and leadership development, tribal sovereignty, and economic vitality to their tribal communities. Recently, Johnny led the hosting of the 2024 Tejon Indian Tribe Powwow at Bakersfield College. It was a festive two-day event that highlighted Native American culture through music, food, and dancing, and brought in hundreds of guests, including representation from over 50 tribes nationwide. Mr. Nito is an enrolled member of the Tule River Yokuts tribe and is from the Tule River Reservation. He earned an associate degree from Moorpark College and a bachelor's degree from Oklahoma State University, and currently serves in a number of tribal advocacy roles. Please join me in recognizing Johnny Nito from Bakersfield College as our Manager of the Month. That concludes the Management Association report for this month. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. I may have missed Bakersfield College on faculty reports. Aaron Giblin. You want to present something? No? Okay, I just didn't want to leave you out. College reports.
Good order. All right. The mic was turned in my direction as a subtle hint that I'll be the first. President Corkins, trustees, Chancellor Bloomberg. You have my report uploaded in board docs. But there was one thing that didn't make the report, and I just wanted to highlight quickly, is that the district has purchased land in Tehachapi for the Saracoso campus. So we're really excited about the future of having a permanent home there in Tehachapi, and look forward to celebrating that in a formal way with groundbreaking and all of those things in the near future. So thank you for that. And again, very excited about those opportunities, and as is Tehachapi. So thank you. That concludes my report.
You'll provide the money for the buildings and stuff. We took care of the ground.
Sure.
Okay, we did our part.
I'm not saying it might not come back with my hand out.
Talk to Daniel before you leave.
Good afternoon, President Corgan, trustees, Chancellor. You have my report in front of you. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. First, the lead on the report is we received word in October that our nursing department has been accredited by the Accreditation Commission for Education and Nursing, which is a national accrediting board. That makes us one of 32 community colleges in the state of California. And it will set us up nicely when we're ready to offer that Bachelor of Nursing, which we're looking forward to updates on that. Last weekend, we held the Bakersfield Rodeo Club held its rodeo at the fairgrounds. The grandstands were packed. A good time was had by all. And last year, the rodeo circuit voted us the best rodeo of the year and asked us to do a second day. I don't know if they're going to ask us for a week next year, but it was a fantastic time, and credit to Julie Beechner and the Rodeo Club for what they.
Good afternoon, President Corkins, trustees, Chancellor Bloomberg. I want to highlight a recent development. Porterville College has been awarded the 2024 Latinx English Success Award by the Campaign for College. It was announced yesterday in an Instagram Live event. We held a small watch party, but I really want to thank the English division for that. Last night, a group of us attended the Fire Academy graduation. There was approximately 35 cadets who completed that. I just want to emphasize how much it means for those families. It's one of the largest academies to graduate so far, and one side of the gym was entirely full of children, parents, loved ones, and so forth. To be able to see their excitement and to clap and to acknowledge the success of the students and the sacrifice for the call of duty for firefighters. It was just an incredible experience. We also had transfer day and a couple of activities for students on campus, as well as a USDA tour for our new MESA program. And you heard from Rebecca Baird that we did send a group to Cuba. I want to emphasize that we are trying to expand and look at international efforts at Porterville College and try to engage with the city of Porterville to see what we can do in regards to housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Chancellor's report.
Trustee Corkins, members of the board, the chancellor's report is included in your information. Just to highlight a couple of things that are not in that report. I mean, we get to this time of the year, the holiday time, we hear a lot about the season of giving. I would like to highlight some things that I would call the season of support. And so recently on Wednesday, November 13th, our partners at Cap K had a holiday food drive. We appreciate Trustee Agbalog making the connection with my office to help with that. We made available 37 parking spaces throughout the day for the food drive volunteers that worked that at Compassion Corner. I appreciate everybody's effort in recognizing that food insecurity is such a big deal. The second thing I want to mention is United for Havilah, United Way of Eastern Kern County effort that you've heard about. I appreciate all of our employees, board members, and others that have donated. To remind everyone, the donations will go to gift cards that will aid the victims of the Burrell fire. And I would give the board an invitation Monday, the 25th, that I will be joining a team from the Kern CCD at the Lake Isabella Senior Center. We will be handing out those gift cards to affected families. If any members of the governing board would like to go, please let Jennifer Surratt from my office know. And then I appreciate our public service program here at the Weil Institute. It's the first annual Warm Wishes Drive for community elders. It is going on November 6th through December 11th. ACCD and BC Public Safety Training in partnership with Klein, Donnell, Golder Law Firm, and KGET 17 News. There's a donation barrel located on the first floor lobby near the elevator. We're trying to gather warm articles for senior citizens, those who may not have enough to have warm coats and things like that as the weather becomes colder. So I would just remind everyone that it's important more recognizing and being grateful to understand that there are sometimes those who are in great need and don't have the resources. And so I encourage everyone to always celebrate this as a season of support. Trustee Corkins, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Student trustee.
Hello. I just have a small report. Mid-October, I attended an ACCT conference in Seattle, Washington. I learned a lot, and it was nationwide. There was student trustees from all over the nation, and it was really informative. I learned that I didn't know in Maryland they didn't have a student trustee, so it was a little something new for me to learn that I really understood now the gravity of my position and how I'm definitely very privileged to be here, sitting down here when they don't have a student trustee there. So it was really really informative for me to be there. And I don't have anything else to report. That we also in Bakersfield College, our legislation team, our Director of Legislative Affairs team, Elise Miller, and manager Kevin Mendez did an amazing job, and we got more than 400 plus registered voters. So that's very, very impressive. We had 200 more than CSUB, so it was really, really great.
Go girl.
It's not a competition. It is. It is. It always is. But that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Scribner.
I want to commend our IT and our public information department. I think that you could have given us a lot of excuses why that would have taken a lot longer, but I want to applaud your efforts and how quickly you got ahead of that issue and your leadership throughout the community college system and how to address that, and your modesty in continuing to look around at all of those who contributed to the success of that. So I think that in a moment where there's lots of challenges and problems to solve, I want to just thank you for a great example of work well done. So I'd also like to share my enthusiasm as Dr. Hancock and President Hancock about the purchased land in Tehachapi for the campus there. That is really an exciting project. As someone who lives out there, I think that is truly the right area to grow our footprint, and that is where the students are. I think that was a really, really timely investment, and I'm excited to just do whatever I can to champion that growth and that project, and thank the team that contributed to making that happen. And lastly, I think I'm going to be one of many to just share and encourage everyone to enjoy their time over the Thanksgiving holiday with their families and their loved ones. And in this moment of thanks, I just want to thank all of our hardworking on the ground team at our campuses that are delivering on our mission every day.
Trustee Carter.
Just real quick, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and also thanks to Todd and your team for doing a great job. I was really worried about that. I want to thank Romeo Abalog, serving with him for the last 10 years, and a wonderful job. I think this is your last meeting, right?
Yes. I guess so.
Yeah.
We may call a special meeting just.
So I've enjoyed working with him. He's always got great comments. I'm gonna miss him a whole lot. So with that, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Trustee Meek.
Thank you. Dr. Flagger, we forgot to talk about.
Those were just preparatory for next.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
new logos. Very nice. Romeo.
Here it comes.
You know, every board I've ever served on, which there has been a few over, I always leave board meeting someone that our paths might have crossed through politics, but I don't know that I'm not as active. One of the big highlights of serving on this watch you bring it time for friendship, but also you're articulate. You are very, very good at times when it's trying to summarize where they, but putting it into words that is exactly, I did not. But you have a wonderful individual. And also, I'd like to give all of you my blessings for Thanksgiving. Hope you have some good times off and come back refreshed as you always do.
Trustee Gomez.
Just a couple of things. Last Friday, I attended the Central Valley Transfer Summit at UC Merced, and it was just great to see we had two representatives, one from Porterville College and one from Bakersfield College there. Certainly there are unique challenges to the Central Valley. So many of our first-gen students, our low-income students. So it's good to see what other colleges are doing in terms of best practices and partnerships with the CSUs and the UCs. Chancellor, I would like to see for maybe the last 3 years, what our transfer results look like as a district and by each college disaggregated data. I think we've made incredible strides, but that's just my feeling. I would like to see the data. Someone poked me while I was sitting at the table and said, I think you guys are doing really well. And I, of course, said, well, of course we are, but I wasn't sure. I always brag on us when I'm among strangers, but it would be nice to know. Romeo, you've always been a champion for rural communities and for dual enrollment and early college. We couldn't have asked for anybody better to stand up and to deliver. So I will always remember that and get a little misty. You were able to talk about it in a way that people could understand and in a way that convinced people that it was the right thing to do. So for that, I'm grateful.
Trustee Aguilar.
All right, thank you all. Yeah, I was a little worried. I thought I was gonna get taken out to the woodshed when Kay used her principal voice in a minute. But I don't really have much to say other than thank you. Thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I do want to announce to the board, I took some advanced movement on behalf of the board, and I wrote a letter of support for Trustee Gomez Heisberg to serve on the ACCT Board of Directors, which has been attached to the agenda for your reference. I didn't sign your names, I just signed mine. Anyway, representing you, I thought that would be okay, so I went ahead and did that. Appreciate all the reports and the information today, especially on the student enrollment issue, which Todd knows I'm really concerned about. So, and I told President Fliger, I had some friends of mine related to our one of our cattle operations, and they attended your rodeo and tell me, and these guys have got daughters that are ones at Cal Poly and one somewhere else on the rodeo team, and they participate. They said it's the best junior rodeo they had ever attended. These guys go to rodeos all over the country. I don't. Seen one rodeo, you've seen them all. My philosophy. Trustee Aguilar, we've sure enjoyed your tenure on the board. Wasn't sure about you when you joined the board, but Vince Pong told me to my ego in my pocket, shut up. I said, okay. As did McCarthy. Done an outstanding job for us. And your leadership as chair of this board, I think for 3 years, which is the first one we ever had to do that. It's critical, some critical times. Going through some issues with chancellors and other positions. Know that you will be very successful at whatever you do, a farmer and run your own business and so forth. And hopefully we can have our paths crossed in the future. Appreciate all you've done here, and I'm not sure everybody really knows all the things you've done outside of being just a trustee. Attended functions, you go to places, you do a lot of things to present the college. With that, I want to give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we stand adjourned.